another episode of So You Wanna Lead a Party? I'm Ragan.
I'm Nate.
And you might have noticed that I grew a little mustache there.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wanted to very much mimic you there, Nate. I think I'm pretty close. I think I'm pretty close to being there. Yeah. A little soul patchy. A little some, yeah. Yeah.
Brows look pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The eyebrows are doing it. They are truly doing it. Okay, so today, before we dive into our edition of Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela, I had to talk about this. So this is apparently Oscar Isaac. And I guess today is his birthday, the day after International Women's Day. And he eats Cheetos with chopsticks to avoid getting the cheese dust on his fingers. And that is pure genius. I thought that we just had to deal with Cheeto dust for the rest of our lives. Apparently we don't. Apparently there is another way. There is another path. And I'm going to tell you, it disrupted so much. I did not know that this was possible. I had never thought of anything like this.
Could I suggest something?
Yes.
Any snack can be eaten with chopsticks.
Well, oh, okay, wait. Twizzlers.
Yes. Is it inefficient? Yes. Is it funny? Maybe.
Such as my cat right now, he's trying to get into this bag.
Dude.
He's just trying to get into this bag. He has all this space, but he has decided to fit his body into this bag.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, poor little guy.
These are the rules we set for ourselves.
Yes, I guess those are the rules that we have set for ourselves. Yeah. Okay. So any snack or any food can be eaten with chopsticks. You just aren't saying that it's efficient to eat any food with chopsticks. Always.
I'm saying, well, my position is that it would be, that was a caveat about Twizzlers. Eating Twizzlers with chopsticks would not be as efficient as eating Twizzlers without chopsticks.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I think was my position.
All right. And that is a good position. It makes me think of that Seinfeld episode where Elaine watches her boss eat his Snickers with a fork and knife. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, that actually does make sense because you're not getting the chocolate all over your fingers. It's cleaner. Yeah. And it also slows you down in, shoving it into your face.
Mindful eating.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Yeah.
You do have to wash those utensils and plate after you're done, though. So that's like fresh water that gets used.
It is, but okay, I'm just going to say this. Since the pandemic has started, I am doing a lot more dishes because I am eating at home more now. So yes, there are a lot of dishes to be done. So from my perspective, a year into this pandemic, happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. It's just one more thing I have to add to the list of things I already have to wash.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just one more thing. But yeah, I get your point. I get your point. All right, today we're talking about Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela. So we wanted to do a little levity before we get into this. So, and I keep saying to myself, stop using the phrase "so." I use so many times. I'm like Julie Andrews almost. All right, here we go. Let's look at what we've got for So You Want to Lead a Party? Yes, there's our dragon. He's going. First up is, let's see if this works, Nelson Mandela, born in 1918, passed away 2013. He was a practicing attorney, and he was the only Black South African at his university. And that's when, according to some of my readings, he actually started to get really involved in the anti-apartheid movement. Not saying it didn't begin before then, but that's where it's sort of like the beginning. Go back. Come on now. This computer. Part of the Tembu, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, royal family, but he wasn't in line for succession. What I'm learning, because he was Xhosa, and I believe I pronounced that correctly, is that the H behind the T forces the T to be a emphasis, so the accent kind of on the T. He joined the ANC and founded their youth movement. Come on. I'll just do it this way. Founded their youth movement in 1944. He was repeatedly arrested, followed, harassed by the government. In fact, there was a time where he wasn't even allowed to speak to more than one person. How you control somebody to stop them from speaking to more than one person at a time is ridiculous, and it's untenable. You cannot sustain that for long term. 1962 is when he was arrested for attempting to sabotage the government, and that was the beginning of his 27 years of imprisonment. And he was South Africa's first Black president. Winnie Mandela, born in 1936 to 2018. She was a member of parliament from 1994 to 2003, and then again 2009, until she passed in 2018. Was Deputy Minister of Arts and Culture from 94 to 96. A member, again, of the ANC, which was the African National Council? Congress, thank you. Woo, I am not having, okay. I've got it. Headed the Women's League, was imprisoned for 491 days and banished from her home to this rural town. She married Nelson Mandela in 1958 and actually was trained as a social worker. So here's the thing when you're talking about either Nelson or Winnie. So let's start with Nelson. Nelson Mandela did get involved in an anti-apartheid movement, and he seemed to kind of oscillate between working with other racial and ethnic groups and not. He also seemed to oscillate between looking at communism and not looking at communism. So I think one thing that we all have to remember is that when he was born was about the end of World War I.
1918, yep.
Yeah, and he was an adult during World War II. What happened is that World War II, before that really escalated, Germany, Nazi Germans in the government invited white South African children to come to Germany to learn about what they were doing in Germany. And that is what set off apartheid as we came to know it. So while Nelson was growing up, he was very much living in a very segregated world. Black South Africans, well, actually all South Africans had to have, well, no, white South Africans didn't, but Black South Africans, coloreds, and Asian South Africans, because you have 4 racial groups in South Africa: white, Black, Asian, and colored. In South Africa, colored is not a bad term. It just means that you're not quite Black, but you're definitely not white. And they used to do a pencil test where if a pencil stuck in your hair, that meant that you, so people actually, the racial groups changed throughout the years. I'm not explaining this very well, and I do apologize. Oh, thank you. Very Midwestern of you. I appreciate you.
I'm following you. You got that.
So Black, colored, and Asian South Africans had to carry passes to be able to go to different areas. If anyone ever saw District 9, that alien movie, that movie was very much about what was happening in South Africa. The government would regularly destroy Black townships and then force them out and force them into worse areas. Very similar to what was happening here in America, where our freeways were a part of destroying Black neighborhoods. There was a Black community that lived in what is now Central Park that were forced out to create something that was beautiful for the white residents. And so that's what they were existing with. And Nelson and others like him were trying to figure out how to end apartheid as it was growing and becoming worse and worse and worse. And so they did start off peacefully. A lot of the things that they did were peaceful protests. Problem is, they were met with such violence that it was not working in their eyes. And this is where Nelson started looking at sabotaging the government, using guerrilla tactics. Now, here's the thing. There are lots of people who say, well, you shouldn't have to resort to violence. But let's be real here. The American Revolution started out peaceful, became violent. It worked. The Boer Wars started out with, you can't take over our land, because the English were in South Africa like, ooh, there are riches here, as England was once wont to do. When they found riches, yeah, they took it. And so the Afrikaners used guerrilla tactics against the English, and the English said, no, we're going to go scorched earth on you and basically kill everybody. And it was not successful. So there is very much a history around the world of using guerrilla tactics successfully and non-successfully. There are many examples of using peaceful tactics successfully, non-successfully. And so calling Nelson Mandela a terrorist, you cannot, because yes, he was using guerrilla tactics, but can you call someone a terrorist when they're using the very same tactics you yourself use? So this is where you get into this very, really tricky area of what is terrorism, what is not terrorism. Can you condone violent tactics when sometimes it's quite successful? And it made me very much think about what happened this summer in 2020, where a lot of people were protesting deaths of Black Americans. And they were met with violence. Now, you could say they were non-lethal tactics, but it was still violence. And when they protected themselves from that violence, they were called escalating the situation. But really, they were using things that they had seen that were successful in Hong Kong. So I say this not to say I condone violence. I say it so that when we're thinking or looking at things that are happening around the world, we cannot just say blanketly, right, wrong. You have to really look into the history of what is happening to understand why people are doing what they're doing. And then I also hope that people start to realize as we're doing this, there are so many connections, because we talked about the Boer Wars, but we talked about Winston Churchill because he was in South Africa. And that's where he got his fame, was in the Second Boer War, right around the time that Nelson Mandela was born. So all of this, a lot of it is very interconnected. When we were talking about the French Indian War with Jefferson, that led to the American Revolution, which led to the French Revolution, which was a part of the 7 Years' War. All of it was very interconnected. Now, Winnie Mandela is different, because after Nelson finished his imprisonment, he said that he would leave the country for a time and then kind of retire because he wanted to spend time with his family. Winnie Mandela was in prison for 491 days. She was tortured, she was beaten, she had children. She was separated from her children for 491 days. So none of us can say what we would come out of that as. We cannot say that we would come out of that still holding on to our humanity or not holding on to our humanity. So again, I'm not condoning what happens next, because Winnie Mandela, after she was released, did engage in some violent tactics. She was accused of kidnapping. She was accused of murder. She would encourage the use of a tactic called necklacing. And necklacing is where you place a tire around someone's neck, they're bound, and you place that tire around their neck, douse it in gasoline, and set them on fire. It is a horrific death. And not condoning her, again, I want that to be very specific here. We can't say how we would have come out of what she came out of. So again, hoping that when people look at what we're doing here and hearing what we're talking about, that they see there are multiple sides and multiple facets to this. And we have to look at that and study it. And for me, and I'm not going to speak for Nate, but I think you might agree, I think that's part of the reason why we started kind of doing this is, for me, I feel like our politicians keep playing games, and the game is hurting your everyday average person. And I don't want to walk through the rest of 2021 and my years later after this completely angry and frustrated. I kind of want to talk it out in a way so that I start to understand why it is things that are happening are happening. Yeah, I talked a lot, Nate. Sorry.
Please, like this was you mentioned at the end when we stopped recording for our last session last week you brought up Nelson and Winnie, and I felt like I needed to get you. You wanted to engage with something, and I wanted to give you the space to do that. So
Thank you.
there you go. Well, of course, yeah. I read some of the. I think some of the same things you did about both Winnie and Nelson, and yeah, I agree. Context matters.
Oh yeah, very much so. Because as a kid, I didn't understand why Nelson divorced his wife. I was kind of like, she waited for you for 27 years. But then when you read about it and learn more about it, you understand they both had changed in that 27 years. So how they saw the world was no longer cohesive. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is too, is that I actually served in South Africa in Peace Corps from 2012 and 2014. So South Africa is a second home to me. And I was actually,
I don't know that I knew that. That's fascinating.
I don't talk about it very often because how do you bring that up organically in a conversation? So yeah, sure. My name is Ragan. I served in Peace Corps. Ooh, yeah. But I was there when Nelson Mandela passed. And so there was this rumor that when Nelson Mandela passed, that Black South Africans were going to kill white South Africans for the 27 years that Nelson Mandela was in prison. And the reason why this was explained to me and my other volunteers is because we were told to be careful, because you don't know how people are going to respond to a rumor and to fear. But that wasn't even close to what was happening at that time. At the time, it was around the Christmas holidays. So a lot of people are off, they're spending time with their families. There were a lot of people coming into Pretoria to pay their respects to Nelson Mandela, Madiba, which is his praise name. And so it was a time of reflection and a time of being together with your family. And remembering that rumor reminds me of a lot of things that are happening right now, where all these rumors, these false things, these conspiracies are being spread around to the point where people are, oh my God, this is what's going to happen. Not even understanding that nobody wants to destroy your life. They just want to exist in a life where they have also the same opportunities as you. That's literally it. Just having the same opportunities as you. And to continue to tell people, no, you cannot have this, it actually is going to unfortunately lead to something else. We're seeing it today that the more you keep saying no, 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 the stronger the pushback is going to be. And again, not saying I condone this, but I honestly feel that what we saw this summer in 2020 is just going to continue to escalate until there is true change. So there's my soapbox. All right, are you ready for to talk about how we transformed Nelson and Winnie? Okay. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
I'll accept.
Let me put this up here. Okay, you should have control now.
Thank you. All right. Wrong window.
Ooh,
Hello.
Zoom is now the leader.
There we go.
I didn't even know what Zoom was until.
Yeah, go figure. Okay. Here is Nelson Rafaela Mandela. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's spelled XHOSA, and the X is a click, so you have to go cosa. So it's a click language, and so
Cosa?
yeah, cosa.
Cosa?
Yeah, I'm probably mispronouncing it myself. I am not good with languages, and the language I was taught was Zulu, and all I can say is Sani Bonani Buti and Hamba Kashle and Sala Kashle.
What do those mean?
Okay, so Sani Bonani means it's a greeting, and Buti means brother. Hamba Kashle means go well, and Sala Kashle means stay well. So it's what you say as you're leaving. So if the person is leaving your house, you say Hamba Kashle, and if you're leaving and the person is staying, you say Sala Kashle.
Sala Kashle.
Yeah.
I'll practice. Thank you. I did my sort of weird Nate thing.
Okay.
Where I just come up with a name based off of something or other about the real person's name. I decided to because of both his status as a liberator and a healer, I decided to make him a trickery domain cleric. The description in the player's handbook of the trickery cleric mentions the word liberator, and that's stuck in my head. Yeah. It's almost like, what if a cleric were, it's like a rogue themed cleric that can also heal and be a diplomat, but whose class abilities are very much geared around stealth and infiltration. Yeah. So there's a way for a trickery cleric, for example, to that spell Pass Without Trace, which can essentially turn a parade of stompy fighters into just a collection of stealth murder balls, while also having access to the divine spell casting that helps clerics in terms of buffing their allies and debuffing their enemies. And buff again means help someone do something good, and debuff means make someone be worse at something. I decided to make him a variant human, a faction agent, because of his status as effectively, he wasn't a guerrilla fighter for his.
No, he wasn't. No.
But for this is my inspiration for that. I also decided to make him, because he's somewhat martial, I gave him a mace, but I guess I forgot to put the attack bonus and the damage in there. Oh well. I decided to make him, because a variant human gets the feat at first level, I decided to make him proficient in Constitution saving throws, in addition to the cleric's typical wisdom and charisma throws. I rolled his stats really well, so I was able to max out his wisdom. I got his constitution almost, got both his constitution and his strength almost maxed out. And then a couple of skills that I thought would be helpful. I didn't add the other bonuses, but there we are. He's got breastplate and a shield, which avoids stealth disadvantage.
Right.
Certain kinds of armor make noise, so that makes it harder for you to stay stealthy. So I decided to keep him stealthy if I could. His class abilities, starting at 2nd level, you can use your channel divinity to create an illusory duplicate of yourself. As an action, you create a perfect illusion of yourself that lasts for 1 minute or until you lose your concentration. It appears, so this is all one class feature, these 3. So this is a little bit of a novel. You can move the illusion. You can cast spells as though you were in that space. When you and your illusion are within 5 feet of a creature that can see it, you have advantage on attack rolls against that creature, given how distracting the creature is to, the illusion is to the creature. At 8th level, you can do some extra damage. So you can give it, here we go. You can give, use your action to touch a willing creature other than yourself to give it advantage on dexterity or stealth checks. They last for 1 hour until you use the feature again, which is good. Typically, that's pretty good. Typically, abilities like that recharge on a short or a long rest, so you can use that theoretically use that multiple times. Spells. I didn't really do much with his spells. I mostly just added this. I just added the spells that the trickery cleric gets by virtue of being a trickery cleric. But he's got access to the entire cleric spell list as well, so he can prepare spells at the top of every morning. So he can pick certain spells that he can use at any point here, including the healing spells like Healing Word and Cure Wounds. Yeah, that is about all the work that I could cram in. So this again was a little bit of a rush job here, but I believe he was he made sense to me as a healer who cared deeply about his people, but also was comfortable enough with subterfuge and deceptive tactics. And character attributes. Nothing can shake my optimistic attitude. One need only read one of his favorite poems. Reportedly, one of his favorite poems was Invictus, right? I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Good stuff. Bonds. Everything I do is for the common people.
Yeah.
Ideals. We must bring about the change the gods want seen in the world. Flaws. He does tend to obsess. So that is Nelson as I see him for D&D.
Yeah. One thing I did want to point out that you were saying before, even though he did use those tactics later before he was incarcerated, he also made sure that people weren't around. He wanted to minimize as much as possible the collateral damage. So everything he did, like you said, he thought about making sure people were safe. He just wanted to disrupt the government enough for them to finally say, okay, this isn't, we can't sustain this, which is eventually what did happen. De Klerk was like, we can't sustain this anymore. The entire world is telling us, you got to stop.
Yep.
Thing. All right, cool. Like minds think very much alike. Variant human, rogue, paladin.
Hey, whoa. Okay.
Now, what I did, how I chose level 7 for Rogue and level 13 for Paladin, is I did math. I looked at how long he was active in the kind of roguish part versus how long he was in prison and president and things like that. So that's how the math percentages came out. 7 for Rogue, 13 for Paladin.
Cool.
The reason I chose variant human is that none of the other races seemed right.
Yeah.
In regards to this character. For a second, I thought maybe Triton, but that didn't make sense in regards to Nelson Mandela. Yes, South Africa is by the ocean. Yes, it does have a coast. He wasn't a naval person. He wasn't a seafaring person, so it just didn't make sense. So because I made him a rogue paladin, I stuck with the standard array for his ability scores. So high for charisma, high for constitution, and high for dexterity. Wisdom and intelligence, I know those are low. I'm not saying that he was not an intelligent person. I'm not saying he was not a wise person. This is just what happens when you stay with the standard array in DnD. You're only given, so, huh?
It actually looks like point buy, maybe, because the standard array.
So the standard array for the DnD Beyond is that you have to choose the numbers that they give you. So it's like 15, 14, 13, right? So you have to choose those numbers.
Got it.
I don't like to do the roll because what if I roll really low? Right? So that's why I stick with the standard array. So with this, you can see that he's got some nice hit points. His armor class is not high, and that's because I had to be careful about the armor that I chose for him because he is a rogue. And part of being a rogue is that you have to be stealthy. So it's studded leather and the rapier. Those he can maintain that stealth, and as you see, his stealth is a plus 15. His persuasion is a plus 15.
Expertise, baby.
Yes, yes. So he's really high on those things. And also his spells are going to protect him a lot in this. So like you, I chose spells based on his on what he was about. And that's why I also chose Paladin, because I felt that he made an oath to the people. I'm going to help you. I'm going to be here for you to bring you all together. And then I'm going to spend time with my family. It does not mean that he left completely. He still was a guiding light until the end of his time and even beyond. On his birthday, everybody does acts of service on his birthday. So you don't have to, but you do 27 minutes of service on his birthday. So even in his death, people still think of him about being for the people. So his spells are protection from evil, sanctuary, shield of faith. When he's using something against his enemies, sleep. It's not going to hurt them, but it knocks you out. Calm emotions, hold that person, restoration. So again, these are things that I can use against my enemies. It's not going to kill them, such as what happened during one of our games where, yeah, we took out a lot of people. This is going to kind of hold them. It's going to keep them there while you do what you have to do. Counter spell, hypnotic pattern, yeah, a lot of these are about protection and preventing your enemy from hurting you, but also at the same time, not completely putting them down. So it like paralyzes them or it negates a spell, something like that. So yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see here. Features and traits. Kind of did a little bit of what you did with him. Wait, hold on. Nope, that's not it. Description is where I wanted to go. Sorry. Gladiator and chaotic good. The reason why I chose chaotic good is because he was a good person. He was doing something for the good. It was a little chaotic in that he was doing some of these roguish type activities. Also, he had a reputation as kind of a ladies' man. So he did have a little bit of that reputation. He was about tradition. I would do anything for other members of my group. I am a sucker for a pretty face. He had that reputation with him. So I did choose things that I felt kind of reflected on him as a person. So it's sort of similar to what you chose for him too.
Interesting. You mentioned Paladins. So, Winnie Mandela is, for me, a level 15 dexterity-based Paladin of the Oath of Vengeance.
Okay. Oh, and then Asamar.
Yes.
Huh. Interesting.
I decided to make her that because a defining trait of the Scourge Asamar is that they are driven to, because in their celestial blood drives them to want to destroy evil. Often, and actually, one of their racial abilities that they can do is something called radiant consumption. Starting at 3rd level, and this is something that a Scourge ASMR can do. Starting at third level, you can unleash, use your action to unleash the divine energy within yourself, causing a searing light to radiate from you, pour out of your eyes and mouth, and threaten to char you. You and each creature within 10 feet of you takes radiant damage equal to half your level rounded up. You can deal extra radiant damage to one target with an attack or a spell. It lasts for 1 minute or until you dismiss it, and you can do it. You can do it once per long rest. Okay. So you can use that searing violence, but it's going to cost you.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to cost you.
So she's, just reading about her life, it was, and her experiences and what she felt she had to do, you know?
And right. When you feel that your life is in danger, as I'm sure so many people in South Africa at that time really did truly feel, you don't know how you're going to respond. You really don't. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know how you're going to do it. Yeah.
she's the Oath of Vengeance is also informally. There's this. Apparently, in previous editions of D&D, there were the sort of roles that a party member would fall into.
Okay.
The healer, the utility caster, the blaster, the tank, the striker. Rogues are strikers. Vengeance paladins are essentially they're the ones who go after the threats quickly.
Okay.
And try to destroy them as fast as they can. So those class abilities are geared around that. Channel Divinity. As an action, you can present your holy symbol. Oh, abjure enemy. You can present your holy symbol and speak a prayer of denunciation. Choose one creature within 60 feet of you that you can see. It's got to make a whiz save unless it's immune to being frightened. Fiends and undead have disadvantage on the saving throw. On a failed save, it's frightened for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. While frightened, the creature's speed is 0, can't benefit from any bonus to its speed. On a successful save, the creature's speed is halved for 1 minute or until the creature takes any damage. So even on the save, until it takes damage, it can only move 15 feet versus 30 feet. So it's still hindering them, right?
Yeah.
Vow of Enmity. As a bonus action, you can utter a vow of enmity against a creature that you can see within 10 feet of you. You gain advantage on attack rolls against the creature for 1 minute or until it drops to hit 0 hit points or falls unconscious. So giving yourself advantage on attacks means you get to roll twice, keep the higher roll, right? By 7th level, your supernatural focus helps you close off a foe's retreat. When you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, you can move up to half your speed immediately after the attack and as part of the same reaction. This movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. So this is a very mobile paladin. I also built her around dexterity, not strength.
Okay.
Because she was a short person. A little on the short side. Starting at 15th level, the authority with which you speak your vow of enmity gives you greater power. When a creature under the effect of your vow of enmity that makes an attack, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against that creature if it is within range. So if giant demon has the vow of enmity on a cat, like tries to hit the rogue, Winnie's gonna go, no, fuck you.
No.
Fuck him? No, fuck you. She's got some I didn't add her spells either, except for the ones that she gets because of her class ability. They're all about moving around, like Misty Step, or they're moving around. She does get Misty Step. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
Moving around, hold person, which she can use to paralyze an enemy, which gives anybody advantage against them. Bane, make them do stuff worse. Hunter's Mark, which is a ranger spell to grant bonus on ranged attacks, or actually any attack. Protection from energy, haste, meaning she can do stuff a lot faster, like the Flash, for I think 1 minute. Banishment and Dimension Door. Language-wise, I decided she's proficient in Common and Celestial, and then 2 languages that she felt she would need to know to fight certain enemies.
Yeah.
Draconic and Infernal. So she could speak with devils. I think demons, which are different, they tend to speak Abyssal, but I guess I could have given her that too, but I also wanted to give her something like a more plane-bound enemy, like dragons. Skills. She's proficient in Deception, Insight, Intimidation, and Persuasion. Her dexterity is maxed out. I was able to get her up to 20, so she's rogue-ish without multi-classing into rogue. You tend to multi-class more than I do, but I suppose I could do that as well. Another big one that she can do as a paladin is Divine Smite. She's got some extra spell slots available. She can call upon her god and deal up to 5d8 radiant damage, extra 5d8 radiant damage, depending on the spell slot that she uses. So yeah, she's all about getting in your face and ending your threats, as it were.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't afraid to, certainly. She was a polarizing figure.
Oh, very much so.
But this was very interesting she was also very interesting to look at.
Yeah. We were very much thinking alike with some of this stuff.
Okay.
Because I'm going to show you my Winnie. I made for Winnie Mandela. Oh, it stopped. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring it back up. Ruh-roh. All right. Small issue. Hold on, everybody. Gotta fix this small little issue. It looks like I lost.
Oh, dear.
I have to restore my pages. Hold on. In the meantime, discuss amongst yourselves. The Roman Empire was neither Roman nor an empire.
I did this one already.
I know. I can't think of anything else.
It wasn't. You weren't recording.
I wasn't recording that time.
Okay. So, all right. So the Roman Empire was neither Roman nor an empire at first, because Rome had to be built at some point, right? So once it was built, which took a while, it was a rough. It had kings for a long time. It had monarchs. It had invaders, and then the invaders were driven out, and then eventually corruption and patronage and not giving the people what they demanded led to certain leaders over about, I guess, 200 or 300 years or so. No, not that long. Over about 150 year time span. Tried to. There was this guy Gaius.
Okay.
Gaius Marius and Lucius Cornelius Sulla, and they got into a civil war.
Here, what is happening? Oh my gosh!
You should definitely put this on YouTube.
It is freezing on me. It won't let me do anything.
You need to quit and come back in.
Oh my gosh! It wants me to close Zoom.
Okay, if we need to stop and come back in, then we can.
That is what we're probably going to have to do. Sorry for this. Do the editing, so we'll be back in. If you like our video, so you want to lead a party, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, click like, and ring the bell.